In this video, we're going to be talking about internal citation, which you'll be using in your A1 summaries. Internal citation is a type of attribution. So by attribution, I mean giving credit to the author where your idea came from. So when you're using information from a source, you want to give attribution to whoever made that source. So this is something that you got to do every time you're borrowing someone else's ideas. So in MLA format, that means every sentence, which is kind of annoying. And in other styles, you don't have to do that, but in MLA you do. So that means that each time you're using a sentence that takes information from a source, you got to have a citation in there. You got to have some kind of attribution, even if it's the same source for a few sentences in a row. One way to do this is through author tags. So you can see here, Edmondson is the name of the author. We've got Edmondson states and Edmondson believes. That's what an author tag is. You say the name of the author, you put a verb, and then you put the information that you're using that came from that author. So author tags can get kind of repetitive. Edmondson said this, Edmondson said that. So you can find a way to vary them. The author then points out, he cites a study. In your writing, this is not the most important thing for A1, but you should start thinking about, is there a way that I can change these up so that it's not always the same couple of words? There are two ways to do internal citations, narrative and parenthetical. The crucial thing to remember is that you need to get two pieces of information in every sentence where you use information from a source. One piece of information is the author's last name, and the other is the page number, if there is a page number. So let's say you have an online source, it doesn't have a page number, you just leave it out. So if there's a page number, you have to have it, and you have to have the author's last name. As a kind of side note, if there's no author, sometimes, rarely, but sometimes credible sources will not list their author. Instead, you have to use the first few words of the title. Don't worry about that right now. It's not really necessary for A1, but it might become important for some of you later when you're doing A2 and A3, and we'll talk about it more in class. But for now, think about those two pieces of information, author's last name and the page number if there is one. You can get these two pieces of information into the sentence itself. That would be a narrative citation, or put them in parentheses at the end. That's a parenthetical citation. Let's look at some examples here. So we're starting with a narrative citation. Here's the example, that first bullet. Smith says on page 14 that turtles, unlike tortoises, can live on land or in the water. So you can see there's a paraphrase here, which in another video for this week I talk about. So I've taken the author's information and put it into my own words. Turtles, unlike tortoises, can live on land or in the water. I used an author tag, Smith says, and then I got the page number into the sentence. Smith says on page 14. And so I've now satisfied all the requirements. I have the author's last name, I have the page number, and so I don't need anything in parentheses. This is a fine citation. It's all done. One note is that saying he, so like he says or the author says, it's a good author tag, but it doesn't substitute for a narrative citation. So you'd still have to put Smith in parentheses at the end. But I'll talk about that more in a minute. Here's a parenthetical citation. So it's that same information. Turtles, unlike tortoises, can live on land or in the water. But it came from that same source, and because I don't have the author's last name or the page number in the sentence itself, I have to put them at the end. So I have them in parentheses with a period after. So again, the two key pieces of information, author's last name and page number, those are what you have to get in there. You can do it narratively or in parentheses. But something that comes up sometimes is that it feels best to write it as a combo, where some information is in the sentence and some is in parentheses. So here's an example of that. Smith says that turtles, unlike tortoises, can live on land or in the water. So I got the author's last name into the sentence, but I didn't get the page number, and that's fine. It's a part narrative citation with the author, and then you've got the page number in parentheses, so it's part parenthetical. And so that's a combo citation, and that's also totally okay. So the thing to remember, got to get both those pieces of information, unless there's no page number, and then you leave that off. But you got to get them both in there, and it doesn't really matter how you do it, narrative or parenthetical or half one, half the other. But remember, if you had said the author says, that's a great author tag. It helps us know that the information came from a source, but you would still then need Smith 14 in parentheses because you have to have their actual last name in there. So in summary, we've got two main kinds of internal citations: narrative in the sentence, parenthetical in parentheses, a combo where you split it up, but you got to get the author's last name in there and you got to get the page number if you have it.